Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday, August 14th. Welcome to another live session. Today's topic will be on understanding your shadows. It's really important to understand your shadows in order to really have a successful life. If you don't understand them, acknowledge them, see the purpose in them, you can really go down a very, very bad rabbit hole when you don't understand your shadows. So that's the topic for today. And I'll give you some tips on how to not only understand them, but how to manage and handle your shadows. So welcome to this live session. If you have any questions about the topic, or if you for some reason it's saying that the video is private. Let me just go back and make sure that this video is live versus private. For some reason it's saying that it is private. There we go. There we go. Now it's live. Okay, now it says it's public. Okay, so let's clear the energy of the room. If you have any questions about the topic or any other questions while I'm giving the talk, please let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions if I can answer it. So please let me know. So let's clear the energy of the room and let's go into this topic of understanding your shadows. Okay, so just stay present, calm, breathe naturally, be very present in the now. Dear God, angels, spirit guides, ascended masters, divine creator, thank you so much for allowing us to open this sacred space. Thank you so much for allowing us to discuss upon this important topic of understanding your shadows. Thank you so much for allowing this beautiful session to go off without a hitch, to go with flow, ease, serenity, peace. Allow these words and phrases and messages to come through so that it is for the benefit, the highest and most benefit of the viewers here. Thank you so much for removing any low frequency energies that do not belong in this sacred space. Thank you so much for protecting the sacred space. And thank you so much for allowing us to have wonderful engagements and conversations. And so it is. Namaste. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, Najira. How are you? Okay. So what we all are born, our soul, we're all born with shadows, meaning shadows is defined as, for me at least, it's really those low frequency energies that we're holding on to, whether it's shadows of anger, greed, envy, fear. These are all shadows. They're low frequency energies that really do not serve our highest and best good when we hold on to them for long periods of time. And it's a work in progress because I don't know anybody that I have met that has removed their shadows or permanently removed their shadows, or overnight became improved on how they manage their shadows. It's really a process. It's really actually a lifelong process. I've been dealing with my own shadows for my whole life. Now I'm in my 50s, my whole life. So you can only imagine it is a process, and you do get better and better at it. And when you're able to really manage your shadows, these low frequency energies of envy, fear, greed, anger, you really expand your life, like your physical life in health, money, career, business, relationship. It's amazing how things just come to you and you free up this energy to become a powerful manifester. And this is the reason why it's so important to understand your shadows and be able to manage them. Hello, abundant, beautiful life. Oh, I love that. I love that. Good morning. And so what it is that obviously we're all dealing with it. We're all dealing with these shadows. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a planet that looks like the way it does, right? There's a lot of things going on the planet, a lot of divisiveness, a lot of wars, a lot of all this stuff is really a reflection of our collective consciousness, of our shadows. That's what it really is. Because if we were all like had no shadows, we wouldn't have all this stuff going on in the world. And It's making everyone feel more anxious, more fearful, more angry, more greedy, more envious. It feels like, the plan that we're living in is bringing out more of these shadows. And so the way the universal forces sees is that these shadows are there for a reason. They're to serve a purpose in your life and therefore serve a higher purpose in the context of you and the universe. You're given these shadows for a purpose, and you're given these shadows and you come into this life so that you can manage those shadows. You can learn from those shadows. Those shadows are there for you to learn about yourself and then your relationship to this planet and this universe so that you can expand and grow. That's really the purpose of your shadows. Because if you didn't have fear, you wouldn't have, if you didn't have greed, you wouldn't have generosity. If you didn't have anger, you wouldn't have a peace of serenity. If you didn't have envy, you wouldn't have, let's say, being a feeling of compassion. It's the yin and yang, right? You can't have, the reason why you have the yang is because you have the yin, and the reason why you have the yin is because you have the yang. And so what all of these shadows is, it would be considered more that dark yin energy, right? It would be considered more of that dark yin energy. But you can't get to the light yang energy, the sun energy, without going through the dark yin moon energy. It's an ebb and flow. It's a cause and effect. And so these shadows are put to each one of us, and we all have different degrees of shadows of different things. Somebody might have more greed, somebody might have more fear, somebody might have more anger, somebody else might have more envy. We're given these things when we come in, our soul comes into this physical form to be able to recognize it in different life situations. And once we recognize it, say, I see that shadow. I see that shadow, so that we could move towards the opposite of that shadow, move towards the opposite, move towards the light, going from the dark, moving towards the light. It's like seeing yourself in a tunnel, like a really dark tunnel. And at the end of the tunnel, there's a glimmer of light. Well, you're in that tunnel for a reason, so that you could learn and move towards that light at the end of the tunnel. That's what the shadow is there for, is to teach your soul lessons for expansion and growth. And so you're moving through this darkness to get to the light. It's because of the dark you have the light, and it's because of the light you have the dark. And so in terms of the universal forces, it's there for a purpose, for an absolute purpose in your life, for your expansion and growth. And so where we get into a lot of trouble, hello, Rocky. Namaste, Rocky. Namaste to you too. Where we get into trouble with our shadows is we don't know how to control it. We don't know how to manage it. We don't know how to put it in its place. We use it for what some people might say, for bad intentions, for bad things. And that's what the shadows, so shadows can be dangerous if you're not managing it correctly. You're not learning from it. You're not using it to expand and grow, but you're using it for whatever, manipulation, control, whatever it is. That's when shadows really get us into trouble, is when we're not using it for your highest and best good and for the highest and best good of the planet. And that happens when we use shadows for bad intentions. It happens because of lack of awareness a lack of awareness of who they really are, their relationship to the universal forces, their eternal beingness, lack of awareness that they are this, a lack of awareness of why that exists and what purpose it's really there for. That's a lack of self-awareness. And when you have a lack of self-awareness, that's when you behave in a way that's not desirable for others. You behave badly. What other people would say, there's bad behavior that comes with the lack of awareness of your own shadows and a lack of ability to manage and control those shadows. Hi, Monica. How are you? Monica Aya. Wow. Pretty name. And so what it is that it's there. All of these shadows is there for you to go from the dark, move towards the light, dark to light, dark to light. And so what happens is for most of you, what's going to happen with the shadows, you want to heal those shadows. You want to manage those shadows. You don't want those shadows to control your life, right? Because when you allow those shadows to control you and become this ego, in the spiritual terms, the ego mind takes over. It starts to do things that are not in the highest and best interest for yourself and for others. And that's when we start to see a lot of problems, a lot of conflict, a lot of, a lot of wars and divisiveness, because they're living more in that ego shadow space rather than using that shadow to move towards the light. That's what it is that you want to use it to move towards the light, not use it for your own personal gain. That's why you have been given the shadows. We've all been given it, because if we were all just light, it's because your soul wants to grow and expand. And how does it grow and expand? It only grows and expand when it's learning lessons, when it's in that shadow state and then going towards the light stage. That's in that process of moving from dark to light is learning. And when you learn, you expand and grow. Because if you were just in the light, then there would be no reason to learn. You wouldn't even need to come into this physical life, what you call time, space, reality life. Your soul doesn't even need to come here. It's coming here to have all of these physical experiences. And some of those physical experiences feel dark. And there might be times when you want to do dark things, but that's the very moment that you're learning something, that the universal force says, wow, how can I learn from this moment of my own darkness? What am I going to do? What am I going to choose to do with this darkness? Am I going to choose to move towards the light, or am I going to choose to stay in this darkness and do things that are not in the best interest of myself and the best interest of everyone around me and the planet? So there's a choice that you have in this crossroad when you're in the shadow mode. You could go take road A, or you could take road B. And so what it is when you take the road to move towards the light, from shadow to light, that is when you're growing and expanding. When you choose to move in the other opposite direction and stay in the dark, there's really no expansion and growth. There's just contraction. And eventually it will catch up to you in a way that you do not desire. So you're given this choice of, what am I going to do with the shadow? So again, if anybody has any questions, let me know. So what do you do? So you say, Moon, I have a lot of anger in me. This is one of the shadows that I want to work on, right? Let's give a real example of what tool can you employ during these times when you have the shadow, Moon, Hey, I'm living in anger. I'm living in anger and I don't know what to do. And I get angry about so many different things. Everything triggers me and I don't even know why. And it's literally because I get angry and I'm not sure why. It happens in some of the most weird times that it just pops. Like there's no real obvious reason to get angry, right? Things trigger me a lot. Have you ever felt that before where things are just triggering you? The smallest thing can trigger you and you don't even know why. And so anger is such a good example of that because I've gotten that. Trust me, I've been there. I've been there where something triggered me. The small thing triggered me and I was angry. And the situation didn't warrant that kind of anger, but I just got angry. And so when you catch yourself, make sure to have an awareness of those times. Say to yourself, oh, wow. You have to have an awareness when that shadow comes out. Why is that shadow coming out? Having an awareness of that shadow being perpetuated, anger on others, anger being released, because what it is all of these energies, anger, envy, whatever, greed, fear, they have to be released in some way. And so what happens is when you get triggered by something innocuous and you get angry, it's because the essence of you, your body wants to release that energy. Energy always wants to flow and move. And so that's a way of releasing that energy is when something happens that triggers you and you get angry, it's a way of release. That's what it really is. And sometimes that release doesn't turn out too well. How many times we've seen situations where that person is releasing that anger and somebody gets hurt by it, right? Somebody might get shot. Somebody may get stabbed. We've seen that because that anger is an energy that must be released. It's got to get released somehow. It can't be pent up. And so what it is this is, so you see how these shadows can really put us in bad situations. And so what it is this is when you have an awareness of that, wow, a lot of people talk about road rage. You see, people have road rage and, somebody just cut you off and it's not that big deal. And the whole big of schemes, is it that big of a deal that somebody got in front of you? Not really. Is that the worst thing in the world? Not really. And you see people, come out and have that road rage. Well, it's because they're dealing with their shadows. And when they deal with their shadows and something like that happens where somebody cuts them off, that's a trigger right there. That's a trigger. Boom. And they can't help at that point because they don't know how to manage themselves. They have no awareness of the shadow coming out and that it's got to be released. There's no awareness of that. What happens? They behave in that shadow mode. And when you behave in that shadow mode, only bad things will come. And so that's why it's number one, it's an awareness. It's an absolute self-awareness, because if they had an awareness of themselves, they would manage it better. So how do you manage those shadows when it comes out? It's like, oh, wow, I just got triggered. Somebody just cut me off in the road. That's the time to say, wow, and I'm anger is just coming out. It's spewing out. I'm cursing at this person. That's the time to say, oh, wow, pause, Moon, pause, 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 pause. Something's going on within me that I need to deal with, that I need to release, that I need to acknowledge, that I need to process. Pause, 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 breathe. Take some deep breaths during that time. Breathe. Pause. And you could say to yourself, pause, breathe, pause, breathe, pause, breathe, pause, breathe. And by saying that and doing that, what you're doing is you're starting to lower that anger energy. That's the first thing you have to do. You have to get that anger energy down, down, down to a place where you are no longer going to do something bad. So the first thing is to say, pause and breathe, pause and breathe, pause and breathe until you get to a point, a level where you know that you're not going to do something bad. You're not going to lash it out on somebody else. That you are now not at that high energy of anger stage. It's lowered. So once you lowered it to that stage, to a certain level where you're no longer going to take bad action, obviously you can't, then if you're in a car, then you can't just sit there and do a meditation. You still have to continue to go, right? So after that, you want to maybe, once you get home, in a time when you have like 15, 20, 30 minutes for yourself, create that space for yourself. You want to go into some quiet time and you want to close your eyes and you want to say, you want to do like an inner child meditation, because the inner child, that shadow is going to come out from that inner child, which is really that deeper subconscious mind. The inner child is like your subconscious mind. And that's when you want to communicate with the inner child. I have an inner child meditation where it asks, here's an inner child meditation. Let me give you, there's two inner child meditation. One is for healing and one is for forgiveness. So let me give you a link to both of these meditations, because these are both inner child meditations that. So the reason why you want to communicate with your inner child is because you're asking your inner child, you want to know the deeper root cause of why you're so angry. You want to know why. There's a deep root cause of all of that. And that's why, so you close your eyes and you communicate with your inner child. You say, inner child, I love you. I love you. You want to make sure you assure your inner child that it's protected, it's safe. I love you. You could do this is part of the Ho'oponopono. I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I allowed you to hold on to all of these low frequency energies that do not serve us. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Please forgive me for holding on to all of these low frequency energies that do not serve me. Please forgive me. You could say, what is the root cause of this anger when I was on the road? What is the root cause of this anger when I was on the road? What is that root cause? And then you could say, help me to release it. Help me to release it. Help me to release it. Help me to release this root cause. It could be replayed memories from a childhood. It could be things from past lives. Help me to release this root cause energy that's causing this anger. Help me to release it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for letting me release this. Thank you for letting me release this. So you want to do that meditation after, not during the time when you're in the car, right? You can't do that, or not during the time, maybe you're at work. That might not be the right time, but when you have, just lower, when you get triggered by that shadow, just at that point, lower that energy to a point where you're no longer going to behave badly. And then later, when you have that energetic space and time for yourself, do that inner child, communicate with your inner child. The inner child wants to communicate with you. Your inner child, all it wants to do is be safe and protect you. That's all it really wants to do. That's what it wants to do. And so make sure you give that inner child a safe space and feel like it's protected. Then the inner child will communicate with you. Okay, let's see if there's any questions here. Hi, Najira. I feel jealous of my friend doing well. She is financially successful and in a stable relationship. I desire those things, hence I feel jealous of her since right now I am not in a good place financially. Totally understand. Jealousy, envy is one of the top 3 shadows. And many of us hold it. Many of us hold it, and we hold it to different degrees, right? Different degrees. We hold it to different degrees. So that's great. And the fact that you're acknowledging that you have that shadow, that you're jealous of your friend. First of all, Najira, I want you to give yourself credit. You're 50% there, because most people would not even have acknowledged that. Most people would never have even acknowledged the fact that they're jealous of their friend because their friend has more things that you want, right? Most people wouldn't even acknowledge it. They would refuse to acknowledge, which means that they're not ready to do this work. If you're not ready to acknowledge that shadow, you're not ready to do the work of using your shadow to bring you to the light. So it's like, you're trying to take a horse, to the water, but you can't make the horse drink it. So those people will not be. So you have to give yourself a lot of credit. Pat yourself in the back. I'm proud of you, Najira. Say that. The fact that you came out and acknowledged this is incredible. You're already 50% there, because the first thing is to have an awareness, right? That's what I said. To absolutely have an awareness. And so the reason why, and you're acknowledging your shadow. So you're saying, wow, how can I use this jealous energy and turn it around to move towards the light for my expansion and growth? Because when you take that jealousy and you move it towards the light for expansion and growth, oh my God, you're gonna be in a place where you're gonna have more than your friend. You're gonna have more than your friend. But as long as you keep that shadow energy, that jealousy in play constantly, and you're not going to transmute it to the light, you're going to stay where you are. You're not going to do as well as your friend. You're always going to be below your friend. So in the transformation of turning that dark shadow into light is when you move beyond your friend. Do you see that? So this is why the universe is saying to you, I gave you the shadow. And what are you going to do with it now? Are you going to keep being jealous of your friend and live in that shadow? Are you going to just dwell in that shadow? Or are you going to take this shadow and are you going to move it towards the light? Are you going to transmute it, ascend it towards the light? That's a choice that you're given right now. That's the choice that you are absolutely given. And so how do you train yourself how do you start to transmute yourself and transcend from that dark to light, from that shadow towards the light? How do you do that? You keep observing your friend and you keep seeing that your friend has more. That's holding you down. That's what's holding you down, is your perception that because she has more, that means you have less. That there's this limiting belief that you have that if other people have more, that means I have less. And that's not the truth of the universal forces. That's not the way the universe works. And a lot of people don't understand the universe is infinitely abundant. That is for a fact. Look at the universe. We are in one little galaxy. And this galaxy is so huge. And we're talking about billions of galaxies. You think the forces of energy is limited? It's absolutely unlimited. And it's the belief that we have as humans have that we can only have so much. And if somebody has that, that means they're taking away from me. It's like seeing things in a pizza pie, that if one person takes a pizza, that means there's less pizza. Yes, that's true for the pizza, but that's not true about energy. Energy is boundless, and everything in the universe comes out of energy. Energy is absolutely boundless. So once you start to get over this limiting belief that there's limitation in these resources, that's a limited of money, limit of this. Once you start to see abundance here, abundance there, you're happy for your friend. Wow, I'm happy for you. And it becomes less and less about her. Your focus becomes less and less about her. If you make the focus about you, Najira, that you are already abundant because you are infinite being, eternal being, and the perfection of God. You are eternal being of energy, of abundance. Once you start to tap into your own abundance, you become you free energy, and you start to attract those cooperative components that put you towards abundance. So you're making it about her. Don't make it about her. Your ability to manifest is not because of your friend. It's because of the way you're thinking, that you're seeing this limiting belief about your life and about yourself. But if you start to shift that from lack to abundance, you start to shift that internally, and you say, I'm happy for her. I'm very happy for her. And you take away focus from her to you, and focusing more on that abundance. You're going to start to see how you become a magnet for those universal forces for you to move in that direction of that abundance, and move out of this shadow of jealousy and move into the light. And when you start to move into that light, you free up so much energy that you attract all of these amazing people, situations, because the universe is matching you where you're at. Once you free up that energy and you raise your frequency, the universe keeps matching you, right? So if you, as long as you keep seeing your friend as being better off than you, you're holding yourself down. So you have to start to shift that. You have to say, I bless my friend. I'm so happy that she's so abundant. And I know that abundance is unlimited. That I tap into abundance right here, right now. It's abundant. What can I be grateful right now? How can I feel abundant right now? How can I feel grateful right now? What are the things that I have in my life that makes me grateful, so I could start to feel abundant right here, right now? Because when you start to feel that abundance, you're raising your frequency. You keep raising it, raising it, raising it. And your attitude towards people and your attitude towards situations totally shift. And then you raise your frequency, and the universe matches you. So it's not, don't make it about her. Just send her lots of blessings. Says, I'm glad that she has this, and I'm glad to see that she's doing well. I can do well. And just because if she does well, it doesn't mean it's taking away from me. I could do just as well as her, if not more. And it's happening right now. It's happening right now. I'm moving myself up energetically, vibrationally. I'm moving up that ladder. I know it's happening for me. So I'm not concerned about her. I'm happy for her. So can you train yourself to think and feel that way? And that's also, you're also dealing with your shadow, because you're becoming less and less jealous, right? And when you become less and less jealous, you're moving towards the light, right? You're moving towards the light. The other thing you want to do is that inner child meditation. Why am I so jealous? Ask your inner child, why am I so jealous of people who do better than me? Why? There's something deep rooted about that. Is it because I don't feel worthy that I could have what she has or have something better than she has? Is it because there's something deeper about me where I might not feel worthy? You want to ask your inner child those questions. Why do I feel jealous when I see somebody have more than me? Do the inner child work, because you want to get to the root cause. And oftentimes it's because we don't feel unconditionally worthy. Because if you feel unconditional, the reason why we feel worthy, because we put worth based on condition. So we say, when I have the car, the house, the money, that makes me feel worthy. So when I see somebody else who has the car, the money, the house, I feel less worthy. That's why you're jealous. That's why there's a jealousy to that. But think about it. If you felt unconditionally worthy, that your worthiness was not based on car, home, or money, right? You're unconditionally worthy. Would you ever be jealous of somebody else? No. The reason why you want those things, the house, the money, the car, is superficially for you to feel worthy. But how about if you just felt worthy without those things? Would you ever be jealous of others? No, because you're already feeling worthy, right? That's the essence of why we want all these things, because we want to feel worthy. Like we are worthy, that we're somebody, right? That's why we want those things, because then we can show to people, hey, you see, I have this. That's why I'm worthy. And I have this, and that's why I'm worthy. But how about if you felt worthy no matter what? Then you wouldn't care about what other people have, right? So that's the root cause of why you want to get there. The root cause is there's some shadow that you're dealing with that you may not feel worthy, and that's a shadow that you're dealing with. And if you could resolve that more and more and become less and less jealous of others, you're going to expand and grow. Hi, Ashley Williams. You're welcome. You're welcome, Najira. Okay, if anybody else has any question, then let me know. So basically, the shadows that you have, that envy, fear, greed, anger, all of these low frequency energies, is there for your expansion and growth. That's what it serves a real purpose in your life, in your soul's journey. There's a real purpose to shadow. There's nothing that has created by God or the universe that does not have a purpose. Everything has a purpose to perfection. Even if things don't look perfect, it's really perfection, because there is absolutely a reason why you have those shadows. Those shadows are for you to be able to move it through to the light, towards the light, for your expansion and growth. That's what it's there for. There's nothing that God does without purpose. And so rather than living in that shadow and behaving in a way that's not expansive, because when you live in the shadow, you behave in a way that is not in really the highest and best interest of yourself and for others. Yeah, you might say it's in the highest and best interest, because now I'm living in my shadow with greed. And so I'm stealing money from people. So I benefit. Yes, you benefit for 2 seconds, but you are an eternal being. Your soul is eternal. That's not making you grow and expand when you steal something from somebody for your benefit. That's not really expansion and growth. That's just temporary satisfaction. That's all that is. It's not real truth. It's not expansion. It's not growth. It's not moving towards the light. It's a temporary fix. That's all it is. It's always harder, the road less traveled, the road less traveled. The road less traveled of moving from dark to light is where you start to feel that enormous expansion and growth. And that's why having these shadows and recognizing those shadows and acknowledging those shadows and getting to the root cause of those shadows is so valuable to expand and grow. There's nothing better for your expansion and growth. If you can recognize that and say, oh, I'm now going to figure this out. I'm going to do this inner child meditation. I'm going to use the shadow to make me so expansive, to move towards that light. Oh my God. And as you move towards that light, that energy is gets so freed. And when that energy frees, it's like it's like literally the universal forces are supporting you and bringing you so much things that you could not have even imagined. And that's what the shadow is about. It's your greatest opportunity for expansion and growth if you use it the right way. Okay, you're welcome, Najira. Christy Rosario, she has a go. How do we work on our inner child? I definitely have a feeling of being left out and jealousy from childhood. I get it. So I just put up here, if you go to the chat, I put here 2 inner child meditations, links to inner child guided meditations. You're going to communicate. Your inner child is just basically your subconscious. You're going to communicate. And I gave you here two meditation links, okay? So use those. Use those meditations to work with your inner child. Christy, that's a great question. How do you work with your inner child? That's why I created these guided meditations, so you could work and use them for your benefit. Yes. And Christy, I give you so much credit for acknowledging those shadows that you have and your willingness to want to work on them, right? You have such a willingness to want to work on yourself. And I give credit. I always say when people have an awareness like that and want to work on themselves, I always say they're already 50% there, because just acknowledging that and having an awareness, you're already 50% there. Okay, Najira says, can you give someone a guide for doing shadow work? Like for the long term, I had began shadow work months ago, but I stopped because I was not seeing my shadows. Again, you see these guided meditations, Najira? You want to communicate and you want to forgive. So when you're forgiving your subconscious mind and when you're saying, I love you, and when you're doing all of this work, you're working on your shadows. If you're asking your subconscious mind, why do I have these shadows? What is the root cause of these shadows? I forgive. Forgive me for having these shadows. Forgiveness is a healing energy, right? If you want to move towards healing, you've got to forgive yourself. You want to forgive. And so you're asking your inner child, you're communicating permission for forgiveness, that I'm holding on to this jealousy, and forgive me for holding on to it because it's no longer serving me, right? So it's the communication with your inner child. And if you do some shadow work for 2 days, it's not going to work. It's practice. It's every time you feel you're seeing the shadow come up, surface, you go to an inner child meditation. And so it's a journey, it's a work, it's practice. I always say everything is practice. And your inner soul's work is practice, 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 practice. You might want to do the inner child meditation every day until you get to a point where you're noticing that your shadows aren't coming out, aren't surfacing as much, right? Maybe that's what you want to do, but it's a commitment and it's a dedication. And often when we're living busy lives, we're not committed. We do something for a week and then it's like going to the gym. We go to the gym for a week and then we stop, right? January 1st comes and everybody joins the gym. By February, half the people no longer go to the gym. So the difference is you have to ask yourself, how committed am I for expansion and growth? How committed am I for my development? How committed am I to get from this level to the next level of my expansion and growth? Because if you're 1,000% committed, you're going to make time to do it every day. If you're 50% committed, then it's, it's only 50% effective. It's your inner growth and expansion is directly correlated with your level of commitment to your own expansion and growth. So if you're 50% committed, it's 50%. If you're 80% committed, it's 80%. If you're 110% committed, it's 110%. It's all about committed. How much do you want this? And how committed are you? Some people want it more than others. Some people might want it, but they don't want to do the work, right? So that's an individual question that you have to ask yourself. How much do you want this? And how committed are you? And only you can answer that for yourself, because you are a unique journey. You have your own unique soul's journey, right? Maybe your soul might not be ready for it in this life. Maybe it is ready for it, right? There's no wrong or right answer. There's just what is. So some souls, they're not ready for certain change or expansion and growth, and other souls are ready for it. So that's something that you must answer for yourself. And maybe you want to do that work first. Maybe you want to say, how committed am I to transform my shadows into the light? How much do I really want this? Ask yourself that question and answer it very honestly, because it's practice. It's not something you just do for a week and then think that my life, all these years I've been practicing. And I'm still working on my shadows. I've gotten better at it, but I know that there's certain shadows that still come up, but I work at it. So it's about how am I managing that and how much am I willing to work for it? So that's a question that you want to ask yourself, Najira. But it's a very good question. It's a very, very good question, because I think we're all at different souls' journey, right? We're all in a different path. And it's all very unique for each one of us. And that's why when I see people that I know that they're not ready for the work, I say, I understand, God, that they're not ready for the work. Their soul's journey is not ready in this lifetime. Give me patience, give me compassion, and allow me to send them blessings and prayer from afar. Maybe it's not this life, maybe it's the next life that they build ready. Maybe it's 10 life ahead that they may be ready. None of us know this. None of us know what each one of our soul's journey is going through. Nobody knows that's why it's such an individual thing. And that's why I try not to judge. I say, okay, I get it. They're not ready for it in this time. Maybe they might be ready 5 years from now or 10 years from now. You know what I'm saying? You're welcome, Najira. You're welcome. Okay. So if nobody has any more questions, I'm going to close out the room. I have actually a meeting in 10 minutes, and I'd love to take a little break to reset my energy. So I hope this session has been very, very helpful to you. Understanding, being aware, acknowledging, and working with your shadows so you can move from the dark towards the light, which will then allow you to grow and expand in beautiful ways. So let's do a closing prayer. Oh, and just to remind you, 69 Moons Herbs, Yu Ping Fang Sun Plus to help us support a healthy immune system. This is Xiao Yao Sun Plus to help focus and calm the mind. Their shop at yinyangliving.com. Both formulas are based on traditional Chinese medicine. We added extra herbs to these formulas. I take Chinese herbs every day myself. I believe in it because Chinese medicine is based on energetic system: Qi, life force energy, yin yang energies, and the 5 elements. Okay, so let's do a closing prayer. Dear God, angel, spirit guide, send master divine prayer. Thank you so much for allowing us to open this space. Thank you for allowing this space to go off without a hitch, with serenity, ease, flow. Thank you for allowing these messages to flow through me so they could be delivered for the highest and best interests of the soul. Thank you. I ask you to continue to bless, and I thank you for blessing all of these beautiful souls for their continued journey to be able to acknowledge their shadows, work with their shadows, learn from their shadows to move towards the light for their own expansion and growth. So I ask you to continue to support them and guide them towards their light from their shadows. Allow them to have an appreciation for their shadows, acknowledge it, and be able to use it to move from the dark to the light. So thank you so much for continuing to guide, continue to send higher messages, continue to send us wisdom, send us signals, send us messages, send us protection, and most importantly, your unconditional love. And so it is. Namaste. So it is. Much love and blessings to all of you. Have a great